Well, good Monday morning to you. Welcome to our Monday morning live edition of the Doctor's Nutrition Show. I'm your host, Jim Tabor, along with Doctors Jim and Janine Fox of Doctor's Nutrition, located on Cal Lorraine Road in Gulfport, just south of Pass Road. We do this live every Monday. What it is basically a call-in show, which we pick a topic and we talk about things regarding your health related to that topic. And you can call in with questions at 896-0713 or 800-349-0713 and ask any questions regarding the topic or anything else regarding your health, because that's what this show is all about, helping you live a healthier lifestyle. Now, the month of, we're in June now, right? June.
Yeah.
June.
Yeah,
this year's flying by.
You do realize that's one of the tests when they check you for dementias and so on. You know, what month is it?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. It is June, which is Brain Month, and we started out kind of talking about the brain last month and keeping it healthy, things like that. Well, today we're going to talk about our other brain, which has a lot to do with our health and our body, big time.
Yes.
Big time.
And that is your gut.
The gut.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, they call it your second brain.
Yeah.
And we've mentioned multiple times on this show that health starts with the digestive tract. And so it is really important to keep the digestive tract healthy. For one, it affects your brain a lot.
Yeah, when I was in school, granted, rocks were still cooling off. It was a long time ago. But back then, we were told that, when you looked at serotonin, which is the happy chemical, so to speak, makes us feel good and so on. Well, that's a brain chemical. Most of it's made in the brain. Actually, fast forward to a few years back, and we found out that, about 90 to 95% of that serotonin is made in the gut, not in the brain. It's used in the brain, but it's made in the gut. So as science advances, we realize, hey, that brain in the gut is extremely important to us.
Right. And they've also found that it produces dopamine and GABA too, which are other brain chemicals.
Right.
So when you start looking at, where the brain chemicals come from, especially the ones that make a difference in anxiety and depression, it's actually the gut. And people don't think about, well, I need to get my gut healthier because I'm depressed or anxious, but that's what you should do. There's a whole nervous system they've now found in the gut.
Yeah, they say there's 100 or more million nerve cells.
Nerve cells
just
in the
from
gut.
the
Well,
esophagus
you hear
to the
people
anus.
all the time say, they're having, they're just not having a good day. They're anxious or whatever. And they're just saying, man, my stomach hurts.
Yeah.
And they used to think,
I feel nauseous.
They used to think that feeling was the anxiety and depression caused the gut problem. Now they're actually saying that it might be, there's still so much unknown about it. It might be the gut problem causing the anxiety and depression.
Right.
So you don't know. There's still a lot of research going on, and some of the really big medical centers are doing a lot of the research. So it's not just people in nutrition saying this. It's actually the medical communities are looking into, oh gosh, so much is done in the gut. What can we do to help with other things? And like I said, like we say almost every show we talk about probiotics.
Yeah.
And probiotics play a huge role in that gut health. And that is actually, the probiotics is what makes a lot of the brain chemicals they find.
Yeah, what's really interesting is they say that essentially the amount of bacteria and so on that we have in our gut has somewhere around 14 trillion cells. And our body, only has somewhere between 10 to 12, maybe 13 trillion on the outside. So we've actually got more of them than there is of us. So that's, when you think about it, there's more bacteria, more cells from bacteria and so on living in us and on us than we've actually got cells that makes us. That's kind of spooky, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, really.
Like I said,
really.
and they're beneficial.
Yeah.
Beneficial bacteria.
Most
We
of
actually
them
have
are.
beneficial fungus. Now anything can get out of balance, and when you get out of balance, you can get a problem with actual even things that should be there. There's actually parasites that everybody has, and if they get overgrown, it can cause a problem. So it's all about a balance and trying to keep that gut healthy and balanced. And unfortunately, we live in a world today that tries to kill off all of our good bacteria. It really does. From our water supply to the chemicals used for cleaning.
Right.
And all the antibiotic use. It's all about
Well, and y'all talk about
killing things off.
People get sick, they go to the doctor, they get antibiotics. Antibiotics, of course, supposedly kills the bad infection.
Now, antibiotics can be life-saving.
They
We
can.
are
But
not,
yeah,
we're not
exactly.
saying that.
But
Yeah.
but you need to do the probiotics
Exactly.
into
Yeah, all-
afterwards.
right.
It's kind of interesting, the research that they've done on that particular aspect. Okay, a person's got whatever, they have to take an antibiotic for it. They do that. How long does it take the gut to recover without adding back probiotics? And they said in some cases up to a year or more, maybe even up to 2 years. And that's if you don't take another antibiotic. And if you do, well, okay, start all over again, because it takes that long to actually reestablish the normal flora, we call it,
Right.
in the gut.
And that's why we do see, I have a lot of people who's come in over the years that they get sick, they take an antibiotic, and then all of a sudden, they get over that, they have another infection of a different kind, and then they take another antibiotic, and it's a never-ending circle. Then they get another, it's because they don't replace the good bacteria, and that is 70 to 80% of your immune system. So when your immune system is compromised, you've got to do something for it. And so you can't stress enough, if you take an antibiotic, you have to take a probiotic afterwards. You don't want to wait that year or two for your gut to recover on its own, because then you're going to probably get sick again. And so that's one thing that we stress, and probiotics are pretty easy to take.
I take one every
Yeah,
day.
exactly, so do we.
Flora 50B, 50
And,
billion units. whatever.
And
that's
50
a-
billion
that's a
is
good
actually a
broad
good amount.
spectrum.
Now, there's
Yeah.
some out there that are so weak it ain't going to do much, but the 50 billion is what we usually start with. And sometimes after an antibiotic, or most of the times, we'll tell them to do at least 100 or even more,
We've
depending
got a
on,
350
the type of
billion.
antibiotics they took. When somebody's in the hospital and does IV antibiotics and they have huge amounts, we'll do them 350 billion. So there are big amounts of probiotics you can take and different strands that you can take, and it's not just about one strand, we want multi-strands. And we get, like I said, we get probiotics from other foods that we eat too,
Yeah,
like your fermented foods.
right, like kimchi or fermented pickles or things like that, sauerkraut. And so it's really important to eat a variety of foods in your diet, even things like nuts and things, like pistachios, walnuts, pecans, those kind of things. Eat those nuts. Getting a lot of probiotics from that, and a lot of different foods, artichokes, all the various vegetables and so on.
And then you got
Real
your
important.
prebiotics, which is the things that feed your probiotics.
Right.
So, and you actually do take a prebiotic. We have FOS in the Flora 50B, so
Okay.
that
It's in
actually already has a prebiotic.
Snuck
in
that
it.
one in on me.
Although,
Yeah, I didn't even tell you about it.
yeah, although you can actually take even more. Our arabinogalactin is
Yeah.
actually a really good prebiotic. Garlic and onions,
Yeah.
really good prebiotics.
yeah.
Chicory, people do chicory in their coffee. That's a good prebiotic.
All right. 896-0713, 800-349-0713. Our phone lines are open to you. Have any questions this morning regarding our topic? The second brain that we have, our gut. Give us a call. We'll be right back. And welcome back. It's our Monday morning live edition of the Doctor's Nutrition Show. We're talking about the second brain during Brain Month here, which is our gut, and the issues that you can have with it and the problems that not treating it properly can create for you in the long run, because I'm sure there's a lot of things.
Oh, yeah. It's unbelievable. Probably the majority of the people that we talk to on a daily basis, when you get down to it, they've got some sort of gut problem. If you ask them about digestion, indigestion, gas, bloating, heartburn, constipation, diarrhea, whatever, they've always got something. They've got one of those components. They don't think anything about it. Well, that's normal, because it's so common. No big deal. But yet that's telling you that, hey, something's not right. And sure enough, when you get into it and we start trying to fix things, and a lot of times we'll have to explain to them, okay, we've got to kind of fix this gut issue, because if we don't do that, this other problem's not going to go away. And once they get that fixed, then they're like, wow, it really does make a huge difference.
One of the,
I'm sorry, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, I was going to say, one of the big things are actually, leaky gut is
Yeah,
one of the big
big.
things that's associated with some of the gut problems. And, taking antibiotics without immediately taking something to heal the lining of the gut, and also taking probiotics to replace, you can actually get what they call LPS, or lipopolysaccharides, that actually leak into the bloodstream and cause other reactions and inflammatory processes. So then it gets into some even immune, autoimmune. It affects everything. Like I said, your gut it definitely affects the brain, but it can also affect the immune system.
Yeah, that leaky gut that she talks about, it's got to where it's so common. 10 years ago, yeah, it was kind of uncommon, really didn't hear that much about it. A few people would call and say, I've got a lot of these symptoms. I just read about this leaky gut thing. And sure enough, there was one or two tests at the time that you could kind of look for that, like lipopolysaccharide. Now we've got a lot more testing that we can do and show you exactly what's going on in that gut. And it'll show you that you've got these at LPS or lipopolysaccharide. And if it gets into the system, now we've got that chronic inflammation thing we've got to deal with. And that's not a good thing.
And then the leaky gut is what is thought to probably cause a lot of the food allergies.
Right.
So when you get the food allergies, then aggravate the gut, and then it's a never-ending cycle. So it's like, and then one way to help leaky gut is to find out what your food allergies are, which is probably caused by the leaky gut in the first place. So it really is a cycle.
Vicious circle.
That's why so many people
It
say,
is.
I can't get rid of this, because sometimes it takes helping the gut, finding out your food allergies, then stopping those, changing the diet. It's a whole thing, and replacing your probiotics. So it can be a little bit more complicated because it all affects each other. But you definitely, and like I said at the beginning of the show, and then it can affect anxiety and depression. So then you tend to have that on top of everything. They used to say, oh, well, people with leaky gut, people with IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome, which is what they call it when they can't really call it anything else.
Yeah.
It's not Crohn's or anything, but they all tend to have anxiety and depression. And now they're again thinking maybe that the brain chemicals from the stomach issues is what's causing that.
Yeah.
So it all kind of goes together. The body as a whole, unfortunately, a lot of people want to break it into parts and think, well, this has nothing to do with this. That's not true.
Well, that's one of the problems. It's called reductionism. And if a lot of the big, what we call modern day philosophers, I guess, but some of the scientists have realized that that's one of the biggest problems we have in medicine today, is that we have tried to reduce everything down to a simple thing. Like, okay, if you've got a stomach issue, well, that's just your stomach. Well, it affects everything in your body. I mean, when you start thinking about that's your second brain, that's going to affect the main brain, the big guy upstairs, then now you've got the whole body involved. And you can't reduce it to just, well, okay, we're just going to hammer on the gut here. You got to look at the whole picture.
Yeah, and a lot of people will say, oh, IBS is just in your head, and some of the researchers
Yeah.
saying, yeah, it actually is.
It actually is.
It actually is, because it affects the brain. So when you start looking, the brain actually tells the digestive tract a lot of things to produce and do, and then and the other way around, and then it produces all kind of chemicals.
As you said, it can contribute to a lot
Yeah.
of other issues. I mean, acid
no doubt.
reflux.
And the
all that.
vagus nerve plays a huge role in all of it, and that can even start affecting the blood pressure.
Yeah, because
and blood pressure issues. So
the vagus nerve is one of our cranial nerves coming out of the brain, number 10 to be exact. But the 10th cranial nerve, vagus, we call it, and vagus means wanderer. Okay, and it just wanders around. I mean, it goes literally from the brain, comes down, gets into the heart, the lungs, into the esophagus, the gut, down into the intestines, liver, the whole thing. I mean, it just kind of wanders around the body, gathering information, sending it back and forth to the brain, to the main brain. And it's the direct communication. It doesn't make the chemicals like the rest of the brain, like the second brain or the enteric nervous system. It's just monitoring everything, and fast. I mean, if something goes wrong,
it's
and,
really fast.
something happens at a stressful situation, I mean, that vagus nerve, boom, everything changes just immediately. And they've done some really weird and probably inhumane things to animals when they're testing them. But they go in and cut the little vagus nerve in a little mouse or something, see how they respond. Not well. They don't handle stress very well. They can't respond to it as effectively as a mouse that has a normal nervous system.
I thought what was interesting is they've actually found, there's no doubt research has shown that probiotics and taking probiotics affect the brain.
Yes.
They've all said that. But they went in on animals, unfortunately, and cut the vagus nerve, and then found that actually taking probiotics then don't work.
Doesn't work.
Because it's about the gut telling the brain what to do. And so if the vagus nerve can't tell it what to do, it don't help a lot of the problems. So it's really interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, it kind of gets in depth. And there's still so much they're finding out. We're not even saying, they might find out something different in 5 years and say, oh, we were wrong about that. It really does this.
The way this stuff is unfolding, 5 years, I promise you, 5 years from now, if we're still doing this show, we'll probably have a segment on this, and it'll be totally different. I promise you, because some of these scientists are going to uncover something that says like, geez, well, everything we thought was right.
And research is
is
being
not.
done at Johns Hopkins and at Harvard, and You know, when we're talking about this, we're not talking about some person that does nutrition in the back alley is doing some little research. We're talking about some of the huge medical centers are doing the research on this stuff because there's so much still unknown about the human body. There really is.
Oh, I'm sure.
You would think after all this time we would know, but we don't.
We haven't scratched the surface, so to speak, yet. So we're just beginning to learn. It really is. It was really kind of fascinating, you know, when you think about it.
Wow.
20, 30 years ago, you know, we
Oh
didn't
yeah,
have
there's a
clue.
lot changed since we've started doing this. Because we've been doing this 27 years.
Yeah.
And a lot has changed from
A
then.
lot has changed.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. Our phone lines are open to you. We're talking about the second brain today, and that's our gut. We're going to come back, give you this week's special, and tell you what you can do to help it if you have some problems. And welcome back. It's our final segment this morning, so if you have any questions, call us at 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. We're talking about the second brain, and that is the gut and the issues that you have. And let's go ahead and look at what this week's special is to help with that. Look at there.
Yeah.
The Flora
But
50.
again,
Flora 50B.
That's
You
right.
mentioned it, right, yeah.
about
Because
that?
it's a really good broad spectrum antibiotic. I mean, antibiotic. Probiotic.
Probiotic.
Geez, oh Pete, it's Monday. But it's something that's got, you know, one of the biggies, a lot of people talk about lactobacillus, the various lactobacillus probiotics. It has lactobacillus, various strains of the lactobacillus, but it also has the bifidobacterium. What the research is telling us now, that's very important.
That's the one they're finding
do
affects the
most of
brain
it,
the
yeah,
most,
the most.
to actually help the
Bifidobacterium.
most with the brain chemicals
Yeah.
is the bifidobacteria.
Right.
So
And that's the
Flora,
one I take every day.
we believe that honestly everybody should take probiotics every day. So don't just wait until you take an antibiotic. You do need a probiotic. You might need extra if you do take an antibiotic, but everybody needs probiotics.
Yeah.
And so
and-
it's very beneficial to the gut. It's good, like I said, it's good for the brain,
Yeah.
good for the immune system.
Yeah, good for whatever ails you,
Yeah.
so to speak. It really is, and it's one of those things that a lot of people, I'll talk to them and they say, well, I took one for a while and I couldn't tell I was taking it, so I just quit. Perhaps you couldn't have an immediate change, but it's something very, very much. If it helps the immune system, how do you know it wasn't helping you? Because maybe you didn't get sick as often when you took the probiotics. So
It's not
one
an
of those
immediate.
things.
You don't take one pill and say, I
I'll
feel
feel
a huge
great.
difference. It's,
Yeah.
Right,
it's not like
right.
that.
If
Now,
you do it long term, it helps.
when some of the stuff that we use for leaky gut now, you can tell
Quick.
pretty quick
Yeah.
results. We use something called GI Essentials, which is put together specifically to heal the lining of the intestines and the gut, and actually it helps heal ulcers. It does all kind of stuff for healing the digestive tract. And it's a combination of many things. One of the main things is your glutamine, but it has your slippery elm and marshmallow root, and it has zinc carnosine, which is really known to be good for the digestive tract. So it has aloe. It has a little bit of that arabinogalactin I mentioned, which is prebiotic. It does not have probiotics in it. But it has a lot of other things, and it's a powder. So it works people can take it and their stomach actually feels soothed pretty quickly. Now, colostrum is another really good thing for leaky gut. People have heard of that because it's mother's first milk. And it actually really helps with healing the lining of the gut as well, and just helps the immune system as a whole. So there's a lot of things you can do. And again, things that you can do also is not to use such harsh chemicals for cleaning,
That's a biggie.
because being 100% sanitized is not necessarily great for your good bacteria.
Yeah.
That's, just if you're extra, like they've said, people's immune system is better if they play in the dirt. So it definitely is not something that you just want to sanitize everything, because that does create some problems in your microbiome.
It sure does. And they've even shown that babies born through cesarean section don't get to first inoculation through the vaginal tract and delivery. And they have problems long term because they don't get proper inoculation of the bacteria for that microbiome. So it starts at birth.
Yeah, that's part of
And
life is
that's
is
part of
actually
life.
being exposed to things
Yeah.
and then being able to fight it off.
And that's why we need.
That's what
Yeah.
develops your immune system.
And then we need to eat, we've talked about things you can take control. What you eat makes a huge difference in this gut. And we need to eat a variety of foods.
Right.
A lot of people kind of get stuck on one or two foods, and that's their diet. And that doesn't do it. We need a variety of things because you need to introduce different kinds of fibers, which are the prebiotics, and then you need to introduce different kinds of bacteria from different kinds of foods.
Yep.
And it's so important to get that wide variety
And
of
it
food.
is better if you can eat organic. And
Yes.
it's, again, one of the reasons is because they've definitely linked pesticides to messing up our
Yes.
microbiome.
Right.
Because of their what they call shikimate pathway. So it gets into even detail on what the chemicals do to the good bacteria, even if they're in your gut. So there's a lot of stuff like that out there, and it's just try to be as healthy as you can be.
I went out last week and picked up a bunch of blueberries.
Yeah.
From
Like-
at my cousin's.
You
Right.
picked them, right?
And I picked
Yeah,
them.
see, that's-
and
that's the
and I
kind
asked
you
her, I
want.
said, do I need to wash these? She said, nope, they haven't been sprayed for anything.
That's
Yep.
what
That's
you
where you
want.
want 'em.
That's what you want. There's a lot of blueberry bushes around here that haven't been.
Yeah, and this is the
So-
time of the year to get them.
Yeah, they're
Right.
starting out, putting out now.
So anything you can get organic. I know we live in an area that is hard to get everything organic because
yeah.
we are there's not as much organic as there are in some of the big cities. But do what you can.
Yeah.
I mean, don't say, okay, if I can't go all the way, I ain't gonna do nothing at all. Some people are either all or nothing. You can do it.
Yeah.
Do as good as you can,
And like
try to be as healthy as possible.
we've talked before about when you go to the grocery store, hang a hard right, go around the perimeter of the store and back out the front door. Because what that's going to get you is real food. And we've talked about the real food diets before, and that's really the benefit of eating those real foods.
What are the what are the benefits of being on a raw vegetable diet? How long to be sure how long should you be on this kind of diet?
I mean, I don't know that any fads you should just do all the way. Like, do it. But raw vegetables are good, and you get a lot of really good fiber. That's one of the good benefits.
And a lot of bacteria.
Yeah, and a lot of good bacteria on it. So you do want to do raw vegetables, but I don't necessarily. You don't want to go without your protein long term, for sure.
We see that a lot
yeah.
with the people that have got on the
We have people that
veggie
come in
stuff.
that have done some of the fast with vegetables and fruits, and they're trying to detoxify. Well, their liver actually gets bad while they're doing it. It's because your liver has to have protein to detoxify. So I don't know that I say, oh, you just do raw vegetables for this length of time. I think you should always incorporate raw vegetables.
they should. I would say they should
They
always
should
be part
always
of it, right?
incorporate it,
Yeah. Yeah.
but not necessarily that's all you do.
Yeah, this time of year, think about it.
I mean, that's our opinion. Everybody has different opinions out
Right.
there.
raw
but-
cucumbers, tomatoes, things that you're getting out of the garden. Even things like squash and so on. You can chop that up and put it on a salad if you want to. Great source of bacteria from the gardens and so on. And it's just a perfect way to go about
A
it.
lot of great farmers markets that are open right now.
Yeah.
Exactly. This time of year,
yeah.
you're seeing some local
Well, I
farmers.
think
bring it.
always
And support
incorporate
your local farmers.
Yes,
always incorporate raw vegetables.
always.
But I don't think you should eat nothing but raw vegetables because
Right.
then you don't get your protein.
Right.
Right.
That's the biggest issue we see is lack of protein. If you do that, but as long as you're getting your protein in there, usually those people they incorporate those raw veggies.
Do better.
Do much better.
Right.
So if they'll just add some raw veggies to go along with their protein sources and so on, meats, whatever, fish. Well, we live in a great place
Yeah.
to get the fish too.
Yeah.
Fish,
Oh, yeah.
seafood. So that's the great way to do the diet, and you'll be much better off for it.
Definitely
Yeah.
that. So anyway, about time for us to wrap up this week's show. Now next week on July the 4th, we will be here live on Monday morning. It'll be Open Line Monday. So basically, anything goes. If you have any questions regarding anything regarding your health, pick up the phone and give us a call next Monday morning. We'll be here at 9 a.m. on WLOX CBS. And again, you can always email me at jtaber@WLOX.com. And there's a whole lot of information that you'll find on Doctors Nutrition's Facebook page or at their website at doctorsnutrition.com. Anyway, have yourself a wonderful week. Not going to be as hot this week, but still stay hydrated. And we'll see you next Monday.
For more information on highlighting your business and services on Healthy Living South Mississippi, contact Jim Tabor at 896-1313.